Representative Burkeen, you've been here from the beginning, and you were fighting for this hearing to happen. Welcome to the Foreign Affairs Committee, my friend.
I'm truly grateful to you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this very important hearing. I'm going to jump to questions. Ms. Manza, tell me relative to what you know about Erdogan, the president of Turkey. Has he made public statements that he wants to reestablish the Ottoman Empire?
Yes.
In his desire to reestablish the Ottoman Empire, that means driving all the way to Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. And so would you please describe the Turkey influence relative to this new regime in Syria in 1 minute?
Sure. So no doubt that President Erdogan had a big role in bringing al-Shara up into this position he has. He's training his military, he's putting their officers through school, but also establishing troops on the ground. I think he has over 20,000 on the ground and says he's not going to pull them. So I do think that, as I mentioned earlier, there are no constraints for Erdogan in Syria like there are in Turkey. So he's able to push al-Shara, no doubt pushed him to want to take the Northeast, which is why the U.S. really should have countered him better.
Is there any decision that al-Shara has made in the last 6 months that Turkey is going public in major opposition to?
I have not seen that.
Neither have I. Is there any position, and I'll just say privately because of great respect for what's trying to be accomplished, are you hearing from those of Israel concerned about their own national security, about the amassing of troops in the Suwaida region in southern Syria, where Israel is saying danger?
Exactly, and I think that we heard earlier about how Turkey even wanted Russia to be in southern Syria.
I'm glad you brought that up. Can you expound upon the foreign minister discussion as of November between the Russian government and the al-Shara Syrian government and their desire to have Russian military bases in southern Syria once the Caesars Act was repealed, and what that would mean to what we had all hoped would be a demilitarized zone? And how, if Israel wanted to protect the Druze, which nobody else is concerned about in that region, protecting the Druze and the Christians are being slaughtered, how does that then create not an international incident, and al-Shara and Turkey know this, that the Druze would be without protection?
Yeah, so al-Shara in a meeting with Russia said, admitted Russia's fully involved in Syria, and the Syrian government took the Russian defense attaches to the border and wanted to set up, I think, over 12 outposts. So clearly, Russia wants, I think, over 10 bases in Syria right now, and I'm hearing from all sorts of sources that there's all sorts of discussions going on about that.
So I watched videos a few months back where paragliding exercises as a exercise in Damascus were taking place, and so the question is asked: is al-Shara weak or is he complicit? Because it's one of the two. Because the ISIS insignia, the flags being raised when they're pushing the Kurds out, ISIS insignia, the people being slaughtered in hospitals with the Druze, ISIS insignia. He's either weak or he's complicit. And I think he's wink, wink, nod, nod. And my personal belief is that he is reading the part of the Quran that says, in a weakened position, remain quiet, remain still, let your true motives be known until you get to a place of strength. My real belief is that Erdogan's desire to have a reestablishment of the Ottoman Empire, that al-Shara is not being fully truthful to what his real goal is. I don't think he's weak. I think he's a pragmatist, and I think he's using. I am greatly concerned that 20 years ago, China was 2 trillion GDP. Yeah. And once prosperity came to China, once they got in the WTO, now they're at 20 trillion. They're the closest GDP clipping at the heels of America. And what we did by bringing prosperity to China didn't change their ideology. All it did was make them truly a weapon of warfare that we now fear. My great concern is that we are enabling the prosperity of Turkey, we are enabling the prosperity of Russia, and al-Shara is not being truthful to us, and that we, years down the road, as prosperity comes, is not going to change the jihadist mentality. It didn't change it in China. There, as the witness said before, 5,000 years, and we think that prosperity, it's the afterlife they're paying attention to. So I got 19 seconds left. I'm enamored by this concept because Tom Barrack has got a role as the Turkey ambassador and he's special envoy to Syria. He has to maintain a good relationship with Turkey. Would we not be well served for someone that could be specific to Syria, whether it be an envoy specific to Syria or ambassador? How would that not help us to make sure that Tom Barrack can maintain a good relationship with Turkey, but we can have someone that can play hardball in Syria?
It has been very difficult to have him play both, have both hats on, and I think we've seen that even with the State Department not having a role to play in Syria policy and waiting for Barrack to make decisions that I don't think that have served the president well if his goal was peace and stability in the Middle East.
Thank you. I yield, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again.